The Italian language is very good, molto bene, at translating ordinary car names into lyrical poetry. Four doors becomes quattro porte, redhead becomes Testarossa. This new Ferrari Ultra GT is called the 12-cylinder. But Maranello would prefer you wrapped your lips around their way of talking and called it the 12 Cilindri. It's an on-the-nose celebration of Ferrari's signature dish, a big V12, a mighty 6.5-liter orchestral instrument mounted way behind the front axle under a gigantic clamshell Cofango bonnet, designed to showcase the engine bay more dramatically than the 812 Superfast or F12. It shuns turbochargers or any form of hybrid boost, but lighter titanium conrods and forged pistons mean it's now even revier. Power matches the wild 812 Competizione's 820 bhp. Maximum torque is 500 lb/ft at 7,250 rpm, but more than 3/4 of that overtaking oomph is on tap from 2,500 rpm. The red line's a heady 9,500 rpm. Kiss the limiter a couple of times, and you'll find yourself doing 0 to 62 mph in 2.9 seconds, 0 under 25 mph in 7.8 seconds, on your way to over 217 mph. No, those aren't huge leaps over the 812 Superfast. You get the sense Ferrari has decided enough is enough. Its V12 Ultra GT doesn't need to be any faster. Want warp factor? Buy an SF90 and a barf bag. Here, the chief job was to keep the Keystone V12 alive. The engineers admit it's been tough to meet not just the emissions legislation, but the ever harsher noise limits which muffle the exhaust note to the tune of 72 dB. Apparently, more of a focus has been spent on piping those rich V12 sonics into the cabin instead of deafening everyone outside. A more selfish car, perhaps. Less of a crowd pleaser. And then you've got the way it looks. There's some challenging, ambitious design going on here. More radical than the 812 or F12 for sure. The dark front mask strip evokes the 365 GTB4 Daytona wedge front. And no, you can't have it body color. It's black only. Design boss Flavio Manzoni says he will allow owners to have it painted over his dead body. Same goes for the black sections of roof around the delta wing motif and the outer edges of the tail. They're actually active aero devices, popping up by 10 degrees between 60 kph and 300 kph to squidge 50 kilos of downforce onto the rear axle. If you're wondering why the middle section stays flat, so were we. Turns out Ferrari was worried motorizing the whole width ducktail would have eaten too much of the 12 Cilindri's crucial golf bag swallowing 270-liter boot. Wheels are forged from a single piece of aluminum and measure 21 in across. The brakes and suspension hardware is carried over largely unchecked from the 812 Superfast, but all their software is thoroughly remapped, and stopping now comes courtesy of brake-by-wire. Ferrari's engineers admit there has been a slight weight gain from the 1,525 kilowatt 812 due to the larger wheels, bonnet, and the active aero, but with all the carbon boxes ticked, the claimed dry weight is 1,560 kilos, so more like mid-1600s ready to go. Meanwhile, the 8i12 Competizione's rear wheel steering is reworked to get friendly with a 20mm shorter wheelbase, and the tech arsenal features the 8th generation of Ferrari's side slip control witchcraft. You might consider swiveling that tempting little Manettino switch into the red, then sending the rev counter into the red too, and letting the back hang loose. While you're waiting for the tow truck to pull you out of a hedge, you'll have plenty of time to gaze around the cabin. It's not as radical in here as it is on the outside. Similar instrument screen to a 296 or SF90, along with the horribly fiddly, touch-sensitive steering wheel interface. The passenger gets their own binnacle with a smaller secondary screen, but unlike the Purosangue SUV, there's also a large central screen which, you guessed it, is where all the heater and seat comfort controls have gone to hide. Design boss Manzoni insists this tactic makes the cabin more futuristic and clean. Not once it's encountered a fingerprint, eh? Prices, before you've made merry with the paint, leather, and carbon, start at $395,000 for the coupe. For $435,000, you can have your 12 Cilindri with a folding hard-top roof that disappears into the boot in 14 seconds. Yes, we're getting the Spider model alongside the coupe from day one. Which would be your pick, and how's your pronunciation of that name coming along?
Artlist.io